Hey guys, what's up? My name is Sara, Dietschy rhymes with Peachy, and today I am taking 13 years of video editing experience and putting it into 13 minutes. Will I make it? Probably not. Thank you Epidemic Sound so much for sponsoring this video. If your videos need the most amazing royalty-free music, use my link in the description below to get your free trial today. I'll go into that in a minute when I talk about music, but I'm gonna go through these points pretty quick, so I hope you can hang in there with me. Maybe you can put these into practice immediately, or maybe you can Google them and learn more. Number one, we're talking about the art of the jump cut. So before I was, I guess, quote unquote YouTuber, I was doing things from wedding films to corporate videos, in the very beginning, really cheesy music rap videos in high school. Yeah, it was bad. But YouTube editing is unique in that there's a lot of jump cutting. What is a jump cut? It's usually when you have one camera and you're talking to it like this. Maybe if I was reading a teleprompter, I could just go for 13 minutes straight and I don't have to do any cutting, but hey, I can't do that. I actually talked about this to Hank Green on a recent That Creative Life podcast.
You can't leave that dead space between the jump cuts. You just can't. The next word has to start before the cut-ins. You're trying to create content that has no space for somebody to remember that they have an email they need to write, or that Reddit is there waiting for them with cats.
So when you're cutting A-roll or talking like this, usually I personally pay attention to the audio waveforms. There is usually no gaps at all in between cuts, like not one frame. But sometimes you get unwanted audio popping. So what I do at the very end is I select all of my clips and I do the shortcut for power audio transition. This is gonna get rid of all of the audio popping. Just make sure before you go into preferences and change the default transition time to only 2 frames. Number 2, adding captions to your video for Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. The captions tool in Premiere is really clunky. I'm told they're improving it soon, hopefully, but I just use the new title tool. When you press T, you click the screen, boom, you start typing. Go into Essential Paragraph and you can center it up, clicking these 3 things. Move your text down to the desired area, and when you need the next sentence, you can just extend the text file, cut it, type, and repeat. Y'all, I am dying with allergies right now. Trees are the enemy right now. Keyboard shortcuts. If you are not using keyboard shortcuts in Premiere, Resolve, Final Cut, whatever you use for your editor, you're doing it wrong. I actually have dedicated videos for this, but I've added a few shortcuts. So I've updated those files and you will find them in the description below for some updated peachy shortcuts. When video editing, I never want to move my right hand away from the mouse because I use it a ton for vertical and horizontal scrolling. That's why I love my MX Master 3 for the horizontal scroll. But because I'm always using my left hand on the keyboard, well, I moved all of the shortcuts to the left-hand side of the keyboard. So the typical JKL to shuttle forward, backwards, and to stop, I've moved that to SDF. But the main shortcuts that I've added are for G and H. I found that I would still use my right hand to shuttle 1 frame back and forth using the arrow keys. So now you press G, it goes back 1 frame. Press H, it goes forward 1 frame, just like you're using the left and right arrow keys. Having that right next to SDF, which is the JKL, makes it so much easier to do jump cut editing because a lot of time when you make that initial cut, you maybe need to go back just 1 or 2 frames to get the precision you want. We have to talk about music, and I'm specifically gonna talk about choosing music underneath talking. Sometimes you don't need music at all, but a lot of times this is what's going to make or break your video. So I'm gonna get into that, but also thank you so much Epidemic Sound for sponsoring this video. I've been using Epidemic for my videos for a very long time. Matter of fact, if you watch a recent one that is one of my favorites I've done in a while, I went around New York City with Willem and we shot with a little 110 film camera. All the music in that video is Epidemic Sound and it's just so good. I think it really adds to the vibe of the video, and I actually made a specific playlist for that video. So here it is. Feel free to copy this playlist, copy the songs, because they're just the mood. Personal creator plan is only $15 a month and you can use their entire music library, including all of the sound effects they have on your YouTube videos, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitch streams. It's a flat price, so you don't have to worry going video by video. It's such an amazing peace of mind. And guess what? The music's actually good. It's hard to find good quality music. They have over 30,000 music tracks and over 60,000 sound effects, and sound effects is something that can really make your videos come alive. A recent video I made where it's supposed to be all futuristic and have visual effects, just adding a few sound effects took it from like to Okay, but let's talk about music under talking, because a lot of times people just make it way too loud, too busy, and it's too percussive. So Epidemic actually allows you to download the stems of the song. So you can actually take away the drums if they're too distracting. You can pick apart the songs and add what you like. Often for me, I'll choose something like chill or jazzy or hip hop vibe. So I would say the worst music you could possibly use is like reggae, where it's 100% drums. It's kind of just all over the place. Yeah, that's gonna be super distracting to have underneath talking when what you're saying is the focus. Now, in terms of levels in Premiere, I never go beyond -25 dB. Usually my sweet spot is in between -27 and sometimes -33 for hot songs. I think there's a lot of good examples of going from talking to B-roll, a lot of transitional elements in that 110 film video I did with Willem, and so I'll leave that in the description below. Right next to my Epidemic sound link in the description below, where you can get a free trial today. After many years of video editing, I've gotten more disciplined with certain assets that I use a ton. So in Premiere, there's this thing called libraries, where you can put certain assets, certain video files, and mogarts in libraries where you can access it for every single video. So it's really great for collaborating. Christina, who edits my podcast, she has all of those assets in that library window, and it'll update if I change anything in there. So we have the end screens, my podcast music, and also probably the coolest thing is the mogarts or whatever, MGRTS. They're basically little animations you can make, but they're also editable, depending whose name you want in that lower third or etc. So I have many mogarts for different projects I'm working on that I reuse every single time. I'm telling you, it helps speed up things so much. I even put video clips of sponsors I have every single month. It's just there in my Premiere, ready to drag and drop, ready to go. When all else, what is happening? My Texas is coming out. I can't say that normally. I'm telling you, I'm here for like 1 month and it's just things are going downhill quick. When all else fails, nest. Now, Premiere has fixed some of this. You used to have to nest clips a ton in order to speed them up, beyond 5,000%. But still, if you have a clip that you have slowed down, it's slow motion, 60%, but you also want to warp stabilize that clip, you can't. So you do the slow motion, you nest the clip, and then you add the other effects like warp stabilization, boom, bada bing, you're good. That's just one example. If Premiere isn't doing something to a clip that you want it to do, usually nesting helps that. Outside of that, nesting is used to just put a lot of layers into one clip, and then it's an easier way to apply effects to that one unit, or move it around, scale it, do whatever. Speaking of applying effects, if you don't know what an adjustment layer, you should start using them. Say you want to color grade this group of clips one way, this group of clips another way. Well, use adjustment layers to apply that effect to multiple clips. Whatever effects you put on the adjustment layer will affect everything underneath it. I use Film Convert to color grade my Sony a7 III footage in Premiere. It is really easy to get a cool look from it. Color grading my other cameras, like my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 6K, is a whole different story. Maybe one day I'll do an entire video on color grading, but just this one isn't that. To help speed things up, color code your footage. I color code based on frame rates. So me talking to the camera, that's gonna be 24 frames per second, and B-roll, when I want slow motion, that'll be 60 frames per second and sometimes 120 frames per second, and I color code accordingly. So when I drop a clip on the timeline and it's pink, I know I can slow it down 40% because it's 60 frames per second. You don't have to look in the metadata to figure that out. My actual process for doing videos, I write out bullet points, I figure out what I wanna say about a product to you guys, whatever I'm talking about. I write it out in my notes app. It's not a word for word script, but that way I can sit in front of the camera, shoot the shiz, and I know the exact B-roll I need after the fact. Like, I have an iPad review coming up and it is so dense. It's probably gonna be a very long video, but I have all of my thoughts throughout multiple weeks of using the product laid out in notes. From there, I'm gonna figure out the A-roll, and then after the fact, I can shoot all of my B-roll. B-roll. That way you know exactly what you need to shoot in the B-roll. You don't have too much excess footage because guys, oh my gosh, isn't it intimidating when you sit down to edit and you just have hundreds of clips to go through? No one wants that. We don't have time for that. Except you wedding filmmakers, I'm sorry. You have to shoot everything and figure out the story in post. Because oh my gosh, what if the bride says, "Where is my mother? Where is a clip of my mother in this edit?" Well, you gotta go back to the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of footage you filmed and get that clip. Narrowing down how much you shoot to just the footage that you need in your edit is an art and science that I'm still perfecting right now. Edit your video projects off of your computer, off of the SSD on your computer, and that is going to get the fastest results. If you have to have an external hard drive, I understand. I use hard drives all the time for like backing up projects, or maybe I finish a project on my computer and then I move it to a hard drive. If you wanna know my entire footage storage process, I made an entire video for that. I'll link it in the description below. Your video projects are gonna be 50 gigabytes, 100 gigabytes, maybe even more, but just move that active project onto your SSD. If you don't have a ton of room, maybe that's the only thing you have on your SSD, and then you can move it. I'm telling you guys, the SSDs on your computer are going to be at least 10 times faster than a normal external hard drive. Now, once you start getting to the SSD hard drives, they are going to be better, but still ain't gonna be as fast as this guy. People always ask me, how do you export your projects from Premiere? If you're uploading to YouTube, guys, use the YouTube preset. Those are there for a reason. I understand your skepticism because the Resolve export preset is terrible, but Premiere did a really good job in figuring out the exact type of H.264 video that YouTube wants. So when you upload that export to YouTube, YouTube doesn't have to do a ton of compression on that video. You wanna leave that more up to Premiere, not YouTube. So yeah, use the Premiere preset, YouTube 1080, YouTube 4K. If you wanna see what YouTube's compression will do to a video, export your video ProRes MOV where it looks beautiful and perfect on your computer, but YouTube will destroy it. My final point, oh my gosh, we made it to the end. And if you're here, leave a comment down below. Which point helped you the most? Hopefully this is not pointless. Oh man. So you have all this footage, how do you boil it down into a 5-minute, into a 10-minute story? This is definitely the biggest challenge with documentary work or corporate gigs where you sit down with an executive for 40 minutes and they say, hey, make a compelling 2-minute video. What? I will say the more pre-pro you do and you figure out exactly what they want from this video, you can shape your questions to fit that need. But beyond corporate videos, if you're making a YouTube video, a travel film, something that helps a ton is if you have a common thread throughout the entire video. It helps you as an editor to have a North Star, whether it's telling the journey of one person, maybe a location is at the center of things, or maybe a passage of time. I had a ton of travel films that I would have weeks of footage to compile into 5 minutes, and I would literally use, well, the passage of time from sunrise to sunset. So at the end of the video, I had me chilling at the beach with my friends and the sun was setting. That would transition into the vibey nighttime footage, and in the beginning, it would be more of the us traveling, going from point A to point B. It's the start of the day. So there's different themes you can use to really make a ton of footage make sense together. I have an entire video about this. It's called 3 things that every story needs. I'll link it down in the description below. But yeah, that was a lot. Holy smokes. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you need amazing royalty-free music for your YouTube videos, you can check out my Epidemic Sound link in the description below for a free trial. Check out other videos of mine here. Yes, I recently played Animal Crossing for you guys. Weird times, right? Subscribe here. Let me know if you like this video. New videos every single week. And until next time, stay peachy. Okay, bye.